Hi everyone, and welcome back to the studio. As you saw in the thumbnail and in the title, I am making a baby blanket for a baby coming to a friend of mine in the next couple months, at least when I'm recording, in the next month or so. I've gotten a lot of these pink fondants, and then I'm going to use like 9 in this color if I can get to 9 in this color, and then if I have to, I'll use this one as well. I'm planning to use this one to border, or not to border, to weave together the blanket, and then I have a white one that I'll use to border the blanket once it's all done. And this is following the pattern. That was my bunny who thumped just now. And this is following the pattern that I've linked below down on my Etsy. It's the personalizable granny square blankets. So this is the Sunburst granny square, and I'm doing it for a baby blanket, so just averaging out the size of the square dependent on the yarn and my tension and all that stuff. And just to give a little bit of context reference by what I meant, this is same granny square pattern, 2 different yarn types, 2 different hooks, and probably even like 2 different tensions for me because my tension varies a lot. 2 very different sizes of granny squares. 1, 2, 3, 4 rounds. 1, 2, 3, 4 rounds. Same exact granny square. So a little bit of context for what I meant. Okay, so I know this is the first time I'm showing my face in this video and in videos like this, but I just wanted to come on here to say that I'm still working on this baby blanket, but there has been a slight change. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And essentially like that white pastel-y rainbowy, I think it's Bernat baby sport yarn in, I want to say like baby ombre maybe. So essentially that yarn is a little bit too thick in comparison to this pink yarn. I'm still going to use the yellow to weave it together, weave all the squares together, and I might use the yellow to border it as well. 1 second. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 15, 16. However, instead of using that white, I can't grab it. It's in there. It's in my yarn stash now. But instead of using that one, I'm going to be using this blue to kind of make like an X shape in the blanket. And essentially I am making 16 of these pink squares. And I'm gonna do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of, I think my math is right. 9 of the blue ones. Again, I think my math is right. I'll have like the correct math. If I'm not, I'll have it up on the screen. But that is the plan. Again, like, I think it'll still work out because pink is going to be this little baby girl's older sister's favorite color, and then the light blue is her older brother's favorite color. So it kind of like merges their two favorite colors together while also being 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 its own blanket and her own thing, this little baby girl's own blanket, but also, like I said, merging together her two older siblings' favorite colors. 5, 6, 7. So it'll be really cute. So I'm really looking forward to this. 4, 5. And this is actually like the first true baby blanket that I'm making. It might be more toddler blanket, but I'm making this as a baby blanket with the mindset that it'll be used for quite a bit longer than just in her baby phase when she's a baby. So hopefully that is what happens. We'll see, because kids are fickle like the rest of humanity. And yeah, we'll see. I do have a couple of other baby blankets that I want to make for some other little babies that I know, but I wanted to get this one done as soon as possible since this little baby girl is due in the end of February to beginning of March. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I just wanted to have this done so that it was one less thing for me to worry about, one less thing for the mom to worry about, and also to just kind of placate the little girl, the older sister, the soon-to-be older sister, because I used to babysit her, and she is very much bonded with me. I'm very bonded to her, and I want to just placate her. I want to have this done so I can have more time to make a little something for her too, like the older sister. Because I know she's going to have a little bit of a hard time not being the only girl anymore, the only daughter anymore. So just so I have like a little bit of time to spend it on, give her a little bit more attention when the baby does come. So, and especially in this last month leading up to the due date and whenever the delivery will happen. So that is the plan. Again, apologies. Like with a lot of my recent videos, this is severely unedited, very limited editing, because I am doing a lot of my edits on my phone, because I have the most recent phone, like the 16. I think I have the 16 Plus, and my computer is not updated. And when I tried to edit like the raw video, when I tried to send it initially to my computer, it was not liking the clips that I was filming with like the audio. So I'm trying to figure that out so that I can return to editing on my computer, because that is the easiest thing for me to do, but at the moment it is what it is. Now I decided to change it up a little bit. I'm doing yellow squares instead of blue, and then that blue I showed earlier, I'll be using that to weave all the squares together and border it. So this is how the blanket is looking so far. You can see where the rest of the yellow squares are going to go, forming that kind of X shape. So I'm really happy with the results so far. And like I mentioned before, it's going to be this blue that weaves the squares together and borders the blanket as a whole. Okay, so slightly new plan because the other yellow that I had was not matching this color. It was slightly darker, slightly more of like an orangey yellow rather than this pastel yellow. So I'm actually going to use this blue and do 4 squares here. And then I'll weave using the white yarn that I have and also border using that white. So there's a lot of changes with this, which is fine. I think I said this before, but I'm using the yarn that I got from my grandmother. So it is just kind of a plan as I go blanket with what I have and what I can use. Okay, so you can see here that I'm almost done. I just have the 2 squares to make. At least I'm almost done with making the squares. And then I have to weave together the blanket and border it. And since I used the blue as part of the blanket, I'll probably just weave together with white and border with white. I'm using this blue right now. I started another square. And in that way, it can all just be kind of very baby blanket colors. And then tying everything together with white. Okay, so you can see that I've started to weave together the squares. I'm doing one way first and then the other way the next. You can see that I have each row into piles. You can see those other three right there. And then the 2 that I have closest to me are the ones that I'm currently weaving together. You don't have to be this particular about setting up the rows to weave them together, but if there's a certain pattern you want, I do recommend setting it up before you start weaving them together. But again, it does not have to be so specific with, like I said, setting up the squares. I just do it this way because I like to be more specific about how I set up my granny squares for blankets. So I've gotten these first 2 rows sewn together. I'm moving on to this one now, and then I'll be back once the whole blanket is woven together and when I start bordering. Okay, so when doing a border for a blanket, I start off with slip stitch, make it kind of big, insert the hook into the corner, like I showed in the weaving and bordering tutorial, then tighten it back up, pull through. And also too, I'm not sure if I explained this, but when I'm putting on a border onto a blanket, I always have the front side facing me. And so you can tell the back side with all the tails, and then you see here where I wove it together. This is the back, this is the front. And like I said, I just have the front facing me because usually when you end up crocheting, especially when you're doing something like a granny square, there is an obvious front and back. So just to make sure that, like, when you're bordering, it usually doesn't really matter, but for consistency, I just like making sure that the front of the border is the same as the front of the blanket. So, and again, like with a border, it isn't as easy to tell the front versus the back, but again, for me, it's just consistency and making it look overall nice. And then I think I also explained this, in that weaving and bordering your granny square blanket tutorial, and specifically the weaving and bordering video. Like I said, when you're doing the border on granny squares, you really want to do it like you would do any stitch. You do it into the V shape, and you really try to get, here you can see it very easily here, you don't go under this part, you go in between that V and that back post. Oops, I did the wrong stitch for this. But you see there's that and that, you do it in that space in between the two. And sometimes it's a little bit harder to get into that space, but really try your best, because in that way your border is as even as possible and you don't have like one stitch going lower. And you see here, once I get to a corner where I have to weave in an end, it is also a little bit tougher to tell, but just do your best. Did I just do 2 there? I did 2 there. Okay. And then when you get to the corner stitches, you want to do it into the back half of the stitch, the back loop of the stitch. Again, just to keep it even and to keep it looking like a mostly straight line. And then you want to go into the slip stitch. It will be a little bit tricky, but you do want to try to get into there. Just wiggle your hook about, and then this will help to just secure everything a little bit better and secure that thread. So now that I've just re-explained that real quick, I will show you the end result. And if you need a more in-depth view of how to border and weave together blankets, you can go check out those videos that I have up on my channel. I think I did them at the beginning of January. So I will see you at the end with the end result of this baby blanket.